Top 5 biggest problems with Indian food and Indian food culture. I'm a physician, Indian origin, trained in England, based in Canada, and before you start criticizing me for slandering on my own people, I'd like to urge you to watch this video till the end, where I will be describing what I see as the top 5 problems in Indian food and Indian food culture. And I will also be proposing an Indian solution to this Indian problem. To give you some context, I'm a physician who recommends a whole food plant-based diet and early time restricted feeding pattern intermittent fasting for our metabolic problems. However, the most common kind of pushback I get is that Indian people, despite being majority vegetarian, are often diabetic, obese, and have heart disease. So this video is a kind of rebuttal of that argument, explaining that unfortunately, although our ancestors did have really healthy habits, whether it was a Satvik style whole food plant-based diet or a Jainism type early time restricted feeding pattern, currently us Indians do not have the healthiest of food habits despite being vegetarian. And by pointing out what I see as the top 5 deficiencies in the current Indian food and eating culture, I'm hoping that we'll be able to derive more benefit from being, for the most part, vegetarian. I will start the countdown with number 5 and move all the way to number 1 as what I see as the biggest problem affecting the health of Indian people. So please do watch this video till the end and make sure you share this with friends and family. At number 5 is a perpetual festivity mentality. Us Indian people love to party, but in my opinion, some of us are partying all the time. Even at home, when you're supposed to be having simple homemade food, your food looks more like party food. Party food is designed to activate the dopamine centers of your brain, your pleasure centers. It is calorie dense food. You see that calorie density of food is the most important determinant in how much weight you will gain by eating a certain food. If you look on this chart here, you'll see that non-starchy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, salads like spinach leaves, kale, lettuce, these have the lowest calorie density. Next up, you have the starchy foods and whole grains, so brown rice, potatoes, certain fruits like bananas, which are a bit more dense. Next up, in the third highest category, you then have more animal foods like chicken breast, eggs. Next up, in the second most calorie dense category, you have processed foods where the fiber and water has been taken away from these foods. So these would be biscuits and cakes and pretzels. And in the highest calorie density foods, you have primarily dairy foods and oily foods. So these would be cheesy foods and also fried and oil-full foods, because these have very high caloric density and also, in the case of cheese, saturated fat. So if you're having a perpetual party time at your house and you're helping yourself to these sweet desserts, a lot of the time you're not doing yourself any favors. You will end up gaining a lot of weight and likely increasing your cholesterol as well. At number 4, I put too much processed food. Too much food which is not real food, produced in a factory, has an extremely long shelf life, has very few nutrients. There is an increasing trend that somehow a factory labeled food is better than real food. And it's really important to understand that these foods are not good for us. They contain a whole lot of preservatives and chemicals that we don't really know the long-term effects of. So whenever possible, try to eat real whole food. At number 3, we use way too much oil in our cooking. It doesn't matter so much whether the oil is healthy or unhealthy. The process of frying turns even a good oil into saturated fat or bad for your health. In addition to that, oils have the highest calorie density of any foods. Olive oil is healthy for you, but as you can see here, oils have over 8,000 kilocalories per kilogram of energy. So overusing oil, even if it's healthy, will cause weight gain, and weight gain then will in turn cause diabetes, metabolic disease, fatty liver, and heart disease. At number 2, in my opinion, we use way too many dairy products. Despite being vegetarian, we get access to a lot of animal and in particular mammalian protein through the use of dairy products. And some of these have the double whammy of not just containing mammalian proteins but also being high in saturated fat, and ghee, butter, cheese would be examples of this. There are certain types of dairy foods that I do recommend, and these are mostly fermented foods because they are really healthy for our gut microbiome. A healthy microbiome in the gut is crucial for metabolic health, and for this we require foods which have both prebiotic as well as probiotic. Fiber-rich foods, particularly those containing soluble fibers, are a good source of prebiotic, and fermented foods are a good source of probiotic. Many of these are dairy foods, so I do actively encourage natural yogurt with no flavors and active bacterial cultures, cottage cheese, drinks such as kefir, and also paneer, which contains probiotics. So a dish such as this one up here, palak paneer, would be quite healthy as long as there is not too much oil. So far we've discussed that we have too much of a festivity mindset when eating. We eat too much processed or factory made food. We use too much oil and frying techniques when cooking rather than a Mediterranean style oven cooking or steam cooking, which would be healthier forms of cooking, and that we also use too much animal protein based dairy products for our food. Often these will also be sources of saturated fat, which then promote diabetes, fatty liver, metabolic illness, and heart disease. But what in my view is the biggest problem that afflicts Indian food culture, and that is simply eating too late, too much, and too often. And that's why I am a proponent of intermittent fasting, particularly early time restricted feeding. Please watch my previous video, which was a 10-minute deep dive into the metabolic benefits of early time restricted feeding pattern intermittent fasting, which shows benefit for metabolism, sugar, blood pressure, and a myriad of other health issues. Indian people are well known to be workaholics, hardworking people. However, they then compensate by partying late into the night and then end up paying with their health. The good news is that the solution for this uniquely Indian problem lies within Indian culture itself. The Satvik style whole food plant-based diet is the best diet that you can have for metabolic health. If you can follow that for 4 to 5 days a week, you will see significant benefits. Party over the weekends, but for 5 days a week, try to follow a Satvik style whole food plant-based diet. Also, for 4 to 5 days a week, do not eat anything after 5 p.m. With a simple change like that, you will see a significant benefit to your health. Remember to share this video with anyone that you care about. Take care, and I'll see you again at the next video.
Follow Intermittent Fasting Doctor.